6:41. Or actually we can do roll call first. Pekis. Here. Dow. Here. Porchain. Here. Himes. Daniels. Giardina. Lowe. Here. Knockby. Polaris. Birding. Bloom. Here. Blue. Here. Salem is not. Yeah. Goldwyn. Here. Golpin. How do you spell it? G-O-L. G-O-L. F-I-N. F-I-N. It's a new justice for our senators. Oh. Hi. Smith. Corey. Corey. And so Shay. D'Angelo. Alvarez. Here. Bosco. Present. Casazola. Chen. Here. Chang. Oh, resigned, right? Dealership diesel also. This is from November 28th, so you might need some updating. Chaudhary. Here. Chow. Craddock. Giardina. Gooding. Googins. Grant. And Fershaw. Innes. Jones. Clark. Resigned. Krishna. Lundeen. Lakshmanayagam. Manfredi. McCabe. Manidi. Modi. Paul. Perez. Rana. Rifkin. Rowe. Sargent. Schofield. Smith. Oh, and first one, McCabe. Smith's not here. Verbeek. Violet. Ward. Weinberger. Here. Wiley. She's up, Rob. For the whole semester? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Sure. You resigned. The people of Newtown are in our thoughts and our prayers. Is there anybody who would like to be recognized for public comment? Okay. Seeing none, we move into minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from December 5th? December 5th. Motion, Chaudhary. Second by Alvarez. Are there any questions regarding the minutes? Any debate? Anything that you want to change? Seeing none, we move into a vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes from December 5th, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Abstentions. My gavel's in my backpack. Vote passes. Next, we move into reports. Move into reports of the executive. Mr. President.
Hello, everyone. It's been a while since we've seen each other. Lots of different things have happened. So I'll give just a short overview of some of the things I'm working on this week. First of all is the UConn Cycles program. Kind of an issue that we've been having over the past few months. For those of you who don't know, we currently own the bikes that are used in the UConn Cycles program. Even though we don't really have any participation or any involvement in the operation of the program. So what we're going to look to do is transfer the inventory to another group on campus, one of the other groups that's involved in the program. And I have a meeting this Friday with Rich Miller to discuss whether or not his office might be interested in taking on the inventory. Additionally, we continue to work on the spring weekend policy. As you might have seen in the Daily Campus last week, there were a few different articles. It's now picking up some steam in the media, so you'll be seeing it a little bit more. I just want to make sure everybody in here knows exactly what the policies are and what the policies aren't, so that we can stay on message and not get ourselves in some trouble here. If approached, by any member of the media, just make it clear that we're not bringing back the spring weekend that used to exist. We're actually trying to reimagine and reform what used to exist into something positive in the community. So there's going to be that weekend on Friday is going to be Community Service Day. So the Office of Community Outreach is organizing a multitude of different community service opportunities for people to help out on campus, plant some trees, clean up the campus, go out into the community, people's homes. They can sign up. We'll be, fixing their mailboxes and things that, whatever we can do to get out to the community and show some goodwill. And CEO is going to be heavily invested in marketing that and making that work. And then on Friday, we'll have more opportunities for students to do some fun things, a carnival type thing, where, people can come and have some fun. There will be a lot of different things happening, a lot of different opportunities for people to celebrate. But what it's not is a party. We're not, inviting off-campus people to come and hang out and things like that. So it's important that we stay on message and that we have one clear statement to the media, especially as this picks up some steam, which it will. And it'll only get crazier as we get closer. So that's that. Also, I've got a few different openings that I wanted to fill up right now. Actually, I don't even want to open these up for letters of intent or anything because, that would just drag on too long. So one of them is a spot on the University Senate Committee. Scholastic Standards is one of the more important University Senate Committees. It sets the standards by which all classes are judged, by which classes are approved and changed and renamed and things like that. So it's pretty much the most core committee on campus that has anything to do with our academic experience. So we have an opening on that committee. They're going to meet from 1:30 to 3:30 on Thursdays. Elliot, is that weekly or bi-weekly?
I think that's...
I think it's bi-weekly.
Bi-weekly? Okay. So that'll be bi-weekly. So it'll be about 2 hours bi-weekly. Experience is really unmatched in terms of not, we'll find someone outside of USG. Okay, that's fine. Another one, and we do need someone from USG on this committee, is the SUBOG Selection Committee. So SUBOG does their elections a little bit differently. They actually have a group of their own members pick their executives. So they don't vote on it. It doesn't go to student vote. And they've traditionally, historically, always had a USG representative on that group. SUBOG is the second largest in terms of student fee-funded group on campus. And, you know, they plan pretty much every programming event. So it's an important job. I think, Alex, did you do this last year? Mm-hmm. Okay. So is there anything you wanted to add to that?
I can do it again next year if it makes sense.
Would you like to?
Yeah.
All right. That's pretty simple then. So, well, I'll get you the dates for that. Unless, is there anybody else that would want to do it as well? I'm sure Alice wouldn't mind. Then somebody else have a crack at it now? All right. So that's all I have directly. There's some movement on the rec facility. Things are a little bit confusing right now. I've been working overtime to try to get you guys information on that, but even I'm running into some difficulties with people that normally are very forthcoming with information. So if that's something that blows up in the next week or 2 weeks before we can meet again, then I'll be sure to send out an email so you guys are all aware of what's going on. Any questions?
Any questions for the president? Thank you, Mr. President. Next, we move into report of the vice president.
So a couple of things. Corey isn't here, who's the elections oversight commissioner. So I'll just give a quick update on what we talked about since we last approved the policies. One thing that the committee did approve was allowing the Joint Elections Committee to have a polling place on campus, which will be, as far as I remember discussion last time, it's going to be in CUE, unless we can't get a space, or unless Joint Elections Committee can't get a space in CUE, then it's going to be in the Union near the theater. So that's one thing. Chairperson Daniels and myself will be meeting with the Secretary of the State of Connecticut to talk about elections reform that he's pushing for and how they would impact students at UConn. And so that's going to be happening next week. Initiative that was talked about in the Student Affairs Committee, but was, I think they decided not to pursue it, was the talking about no smoking on campus, or a smoke-free campus, which I will be picking up with Stephen, and we'll be working on that project. And if they're interested, please contact either myself or Stephen, and we'd love to have your support on that. I think that's it.
Are there any questions for the vice president? Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Next, we move into report of the comptroller.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you're all getting accustomed to classes again and not sleeping for hours and hours and hours on end as I did for most of the break. I've more or less been working on the same thing over the past 2 weeks, and that is our budget, which will be going over later today. And following from that is our student fee, activity fee committee proposal, which is less of a proposal and more just a carryover of what occurred last year. But that paperwork essentially is what keeps us funded and allowing us to fund other groups. So it's very important. I'll have dates and times on exactly when our hearing will be, in case you want to attend that. But more on that coming later. And finally, we've been going over some of our funding policies to look about refining those, look for some amendments to refine that, probably next Senate or the one after. John will have more information on that as well.
Are there any questions for the comptroller? Thank you, Mr. Comptroller. Next, we move into the report of the Chief of Staff. I believe Johan will be delivering the report of the Chief of Staff. No? Chief of Staff Nappi is not here.
There is just one.
Go ahead.
There is just one item. I think on March, I forgot the date, the 3rd, March 3rd, we're gonna. It's called event that we held previously, in previous years. It's called Art for Beer, where students just come and put out an idea that we should pursue to advocate for other students, and they get root beer. So hopefully down your calendar, it's March 3rd. Anyone from exec, I mentioned the exact date, but I forgot. So that's it.
Okay, if there are any questions for the Chief of Staff, I think President Peckus can answer them. Seeing none, we move into Board of the Legislative. Just a couple of things, what we talked about in caucus, the Multicultural and Diversity Initiative is moving along, and the laundry initiative is also being spearheaded by Senator Alvarez. One thing that Senator Innes brought to my attention during caucus last week, which I realized we didn't follow up on, was the dining initiative. So if anybody wants to take point on that, they can do it. Come see me after Senate. Otherwise, if you want to get involved in these initiatives, it's really important that you do that. Go and see these people for those two. And for parking, right now, we don't have anybody, so come see me. That's about it. Are there any questions for me? Anybody missed those initiatives? Like missed caucus? Come see me afterwards so we can talk about them real quick. Is that okay? Thanks. Next, we move into the report of the judiciary.
I'm just standing in for Sean tonight. I'm here just to remind you about elections. So spring elections are from 9 a.m. on March 7th until 5 p.m. on March 11th. And if you are interested in running, election packets are due on the 15th at noon in the USG office. And just a quick reminder, there is no campaigning in the USG office, nor can you use any USG resources for your campaigning, so just keep that in mind if you are running this semester. And if you have any further questions, just email the Chief Justice.
Are there any questions for the Justice? Sure.
When are the election packets due? You said,
The election packets are due on February 15th. The spring elections are on March 7th to March 11th.
Are there any other questions? Thank you. Next, we move into the report of some committees. I believe it's academic affairs. Chairperson Himes isn't here. Is there anybody who's going to be giving the academic affairs report?
I don't believe she's had a report. She hasn't already yet. Her next meeting is tomorrow.
Oh, that's right. Okay, cool. So then we move into the next committee, external affairs. I think Senator Sargent, Vice Chair Sargent.
How's everybody doing? Chairperson Daniels was unable to make it. He's at an open forum right now. Real quick, we're going to be continuing with our meetings at 2 o'clock this upcoming Friday. Our meeting's going to be at 3, so if you're interested, please show up. It's a new semester, so hopefully some of your schedules open up and can join our great adventure on external affairs. We're also looking for more needs-based people who benefit financially to tell their story. And if you know anybody who's doing this and is willing to help, please contact the committee. So that's about it. So that's what we got for you guys.
Are there any other questions? Are there any questions for the Vice Chair? Sure.
Tell us their story and
As far as, well, the issue with the funding previously with the governor and the legislature, with our funding being cut, we're trying to find individuals who benefit financially from need-based programs, and we're trying to see if we can use them to help further our cause. Sure.
can you repeat the meeting time on Friday?
Sure, sorry. It's at 3 o'clock this Friday, but we usually meet at 2.
Are there any other questions?
Where do you meet?
We meet in the SOC.
Oh.
Sure.
People who have these stories, do you want them to email you or just trust them?
You could do either. I can give you, afterwards, I can give you my information or Chairperson Daniel's information, and I'd be happy to work with you.
Questions? Thank you, Vice Chair Sargent.
Thank you.
Next, we move into report of, I'm sorry. Okay. Go ahead.
Hey guys, on behalf of Chairperson Hunt, just wanted to let you guys know that the affairs meeting is only going to be Thursdays at 6 p.m. in the conference room. And that's about it.
Are there any questions? Next, we move into report of student affairs. Person Love.
My meeting got canceled on Monday because of the snow. Those of you that are in my committee know that. If you're in student affairs, please stay after this meeting. I just need to talk to you guys for like 5 minutes just because I didn't get to see you on Monday. Other than that, if you are in student affairs or if you aren't in student affairs, until Friday, aka you have 2 days to give me this, I'm taking letters of intent for a vice chair position. Jan Mazzara, my vice chair from last semester, is currently studying abroad, so that's a really good opportunity for you guys. So send me a letter of intent. All I ask is something that you want to be passionate about for the next semester. So if you're really into a community service day or something of that sort, let me know what you would do. It's basically all you need. Half page, very simple.
Are there any questions for the chairperson? Thank you, Chairperson Love. Next, we move into new business. Sure. Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't. Oh, did I skip over you too?
Yeah, usually goes before.
By unanimous consent. If there are no objections, like move back to funding board. Report of the funding board.
So tonight, it's not on the agenda yet, but we're going to be going over some addendums to spring 2013 funding. There were some workflow issues and a couple items got passed over, so we'll be looking at those tonight. Looking ahead to the next few weeks, we are going to be proposing some changes to the funding policies, specifically in regard to how much we fund travel and banquets, especially concerning how much we fund for food each semester. If you have any ideas about changes to funding policies, please email me or talk to me in the office. We'll definitely have some concrete ideas for you by next caucus. And then hopefully by the Senate after that we can start maybe formally voting on some of the issues. Going forward for next budgeting session, the due date is going to be March 13th. And if anybody's asking you questions, Tier 2 officers will be receiving emails in the first 2 weeks of February about applying for budgets for fall 2013. And finally, if anybody is getting requests for legislative funding, if you don't know what to do, just email me and I'll work you through it. You should be contacting me, the other group should be contacting me about legislative requests.
Are there any questions for the chairperson? Thank you, Chairperson Giardino. Now we move into new business. First order of business is an act concerning the budget for spring 2013.
Should, do you want to?
Send it out?
Yeah.
Yeah. You sent it to,
Yes.
if you guys have laptops, you can open them, computers, whatever. You guys should have everything. I should.
All right. So here we have our spring 2013 budget. As you guys can see, we were very conservative with our spending in the fall. That's not unusual. In the time that our fall senators are being elected, we're not spending very much money, so it's perfectly normal not to use all of the funds that we block off in the fall semester. Also, because we were operating under our old funding policies, there were a lot more rescindments and also just simply cuts during funding sessions that don't normally occur. That $250,000 also includes a large chunk of money that was specifically saved for spring 2013, just in terms of cash flow. So all in all, we have a very healthy budget in terms of available funds and incoming revenue, leaving us with $4,000 to AC affairs. Area councils will be able to access their full $2 per student per area. The executive budget with $71,000 and change, external affairs with $2,700, funding board $586,000 and change. I'll get into that in a second. Guard dogs, they're almost $40,000. Senate $2,000. That's the $1,000 that wasn't used for last semester, and $1,000 that I've added on to this semester. I'll also talk about that in a minute. The Student Affairs General Fund is $12,000. USG General, our operating costs for our office and staff and all that, $140,000. And finally, $30,000 to put into savings for a few other things. So to go back to give you a little bit more detail on some things that I definitely want to point out to you. Funding board. The $586,000 includes everything that we approved in the budgeting process last semester. That is $529,000. That is also a $10,000 allotment for appeals. That's what we'll be dealing with later on today. And that leaves a reserve fund of $47,000 for legislative requests when those start coming in next Senate. For the Senate discretionary fund, it's $2,000 because, as you guys communicated to me last semester, you felt like you would be using that, and I didn't want to reduce the overall available funds. But as I update this budget over the course of the semester, if those funds are not being used as they were not last semester, we'll have a conversation about where they may be better suited, whether that's in the funding board reserve fund or somewhere else. And finally, that savings line. There are two things that we are blocking off in that savings allocation. That's a potential $10,000 that will go towards guard dogs if they decide to split off and are capable of splitting off from USG as their own Tier 3 organization. That gives us money to essentially give them a startup fund, $10,000 to get on their feet, get established, make sure that they are fully situated, and in case something goes wrong with the van in the first week of operation as their own Tier 3, they don't have to pay for it out of pocket or their own insurance. There is some backup there. That also includes $20,000 that I highly do not think that we would use for software development for a new funding system should we need one. But given that we are in a new system and that we may either have to hire new staff in coming weeks or to redevelop our software, $20,000 is a very safe amount to plan ahead for any software development that we may have to do or infrastructure changes over the next 6 months or so. So that's that. You guys have any questions?
Are there any questions?
I don't know.
There's no act yet. There's your motion.
Sure.
I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt spring 2013. Sergeant, seconded by Minity. Are there any questions? Go ahead.
I don't know if this is a question for you or for John, but if we get a legislative funding request and say the deadline is March, should we encourage that group to just apply for spring funding instead of legislative requests?
He means fall.
Do you mean fall funding?
Well, I mean, isn't there funding sessions in the spring like that haven't occurred yet?
No.
No.
The legislative request process has replaced.
Okay, yep, all right, never mind then.
We've already allocated over $500,000, so that replaces the funding sessions. The legislative requests are just backup.
Okay.
Sure.
Our spring weekend activities going to be funded through executive, or?
Yes, that's currently where they're allocated. So.
Are there any other questions regarding the motion? Seeing none, we move into debate. Is there anybody who would like to be recognized for debate? Seeing none, we move into a vote. All those in favor of adopting the spring 2013 budget as presented by the comptroller, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, signify by saying nay. Abstentions? Can you pull up the agenda? Yeah. Okay, if there are no objections, as I indicated in my email, we won't discuss an act concerning the funding of Husky Bunga this Senate. We'll table it to next Senate because it's not written and I don't think we've vetted them enough yet. So if there are no objections, I'd like to move to table them. All right. Is there anybody who, sure.
Can I just ask you what it is?
This is actually a legislative request. So this club came to us and asked for funding, but the bill isn't written. They actually came to Senator Rana, and the bill isn't written. So we're not going to discuss that. And they don't need it. So I'd like to open the floor. If there's anybody else who would like to be recognized for new business. Chairperson Giordino. Just move to adopt.
Did you send it?
I sent it out, yeah. So you guys can open your laptops up again. These are the addendums that the funding board just had an emergency session on. There are some addendums to the spring 2013 funding. If you guys want to take a look at it, you can.
So, as I said before, there were some applications that were submitted by the correct date and that were not considered for the spring 2013 funding review sessions that funding board held. So I'll just start off with the act. So whereas applications for spring 2013 funding submitted by Yukon Wrestling Club, Ukrainian Student Association, Men's Club Ice Hockey, and Polish Cultural Society were received by the USG office by the deadline for spring 2013 funding applications, whereas these applications were not considered by the funding board or USG Senate during the review process for spring 2013 funding, whereas the funding board approved recommendations for an addendum to spring 2013 funding on January 30th, 2013. Be it resolved that the funding board recommendations for an addendum to spring 2013 funding are adopted. And then these are the recommendations here. So basically what we did is we treated the categories and the amounts the same way they would have been treated if they were reviewed during the standard funding review process. So that means that any Category E's were not funded because no Category E's were funded due to insufficient funds. And any requests, any Category D requests for above $4,000 were also cut due to insufficient funds because that was the threshold that was used during the standard process. So I will only go over the ones that were cut here. So all but one of UConn Wrestling Club's applications was cut due to standard 60% Category D cuts. And again, we use the same percentages we did during the standard process. Two of the Ukrainian Student Association applications are Category E, so they were cut due to insufficient funds. Men's Club Ice Hockey had a Category D for $8,000. That was above the $4,000 threshold. That was cut due to insufficient funds. The other two applications from Men's Club Ice Hockey were cut 60% because they were Category D, and all Polish Culture Society application or requests were cut completely due to missing roster. So I guess they were in that motion.
Yeah, you moved, right? Is there a second? A second to adopt. Okay, thank you. Wiggins? Are there any questions for the chairperson, Sergeant, and then Alvarez in that order?
Just to go back to the chart, you said that I think there was 8,000 they requested and they weren't funded any.
Yeah.
Is it they couldn't just get funded the 4,000 of the threshold, or we just really didn't have any?
Well, because we are basically picturing that we reviewed their application during the process in last year. So if that request had been reviewed last year, it would have been cut due to insufficient funds.
Thank you.
Alvarez?
Why were they not reviewed in the first time?
There was a breakdown in the funding workflow. So the applications were misplaced and they weren't entered into the funding board's system until recently. So they had been received by the office but never made it to the funding board.
Doesn't that to some degree violate our own policies that I don't know if this is true, but because they were not even told that we weren't going to fund them or they were going to be funded by our deadline, wouldn't...
We never had a deadline for notification.
We don't... Oh, yeah.
That never in the policies anywhere. I mean, generally, our deadline is, I believe, 3 to 5 business days after approval by the Senate of funding. We must notify them of the decision, but they were never considered by Senate. So.
Are there any other questions? Sure.
For that $8,000, I think it's for the 20 days. If that club, Men's Club Ice Hockey, requested funding through the legislative funding request, would they be able to get funding for it, for partial funding for this?
If Senate approved their request, but that's up to Senate.
Are there, sorry, another question. Are there any other requirements that were made for Category D activities? Are they following into this semester for the funding that was last semester?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
So you know how, what is it, like Category Ds were cut a certain percentage, or there was like a threshold?
Yeah.
Does that stand this semester for the...
So basically, and I can kind of take a step back from this legislation just for a second so I can explain what I'll do when I receive legislative requests, is I will review, the funding board will review the request just for completeness, just to make sure all the documents are there. And then we will also inform Senate what they would have been funded had it been under the standard process. And then it's up to Senate to do what they feel is best.
So basically, the group can request any amount within, the budget. Say if they requested the full, $2,000 for Category D, you give a recommendation, but it's really just up to us how much we fund it. So if you say, okay, they would have only gotten 800, we can still say, all right, maybe we'll give you 1,400 instead of your full 2,000.
Correct.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for the chairperson regarding the motion on the floor? Seeing none, we move into debate. Is there anybody who would like to be recognized for debate? Seeing none, we move into a vote. All those in favor of adopting this act, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Definitely passes. Next, or since, I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt an act concerning RHA and USG funding. Is there a motion? Giordina, is there a second? Alvarez? Comptroller Cortain will present. Oh, and
All right, so this is something that you guys heard us talk about a lot last semester, and we finally reached what I think is a good compromise that essentially gets workflow going the way that I think is more natural, and everyone is satisfied as far as regulations and funding and everything that follows. So essentially how this is going to work is RHA is going to take over the front end of area council funding. As opposed to having student affairs handle these, RHA will coordinate the application process, the deadlines, the communication and training with area councils because they work with area councils on a regular basis, and it's a far more natural circumstance for area councils to be working with them as opposed to with us. On our side, USG is going to basically use the same guidelines that we have been last semester as far as what can be funded and how it is funded. And when applications are reviewed by RHA, they will simply send them to funding board, and since RHA will have already approved or denied things, whatever is in the application, funding board will simply be able to look at the application, make sure that it's in compliance, and forward that to SACO and continue the funding process. So that is what is in this proposal here, which has a number of different things, but we'll move down to the next page, which has the legislation, which Maria is going to review.
Whereas the Residence Hall Association maintains close contact with campus area councils, whereas the undergraduate student government recognizes that area councils are unique from other Tier 2 organizations, whereas the Residence Hall Association has agreed to create the proposed process in the attached document, therefore be it resolved that the undergraduate student government carry out the attached proposal to fund area councils in the spring semester of 2013. Be it further resolved that the undergraduate student government enter into a signed agreement with the RHA outlining the specifics of this procedure. Be it finally resolved that the undergraduate student government evaluate the success of this proposal at the end of the semester and develop an ongoing policy based on the result.
Are there any questions regarding the motion on the floor? Senator Sargent.
Sure, it's just, is this more of like a step in the direction of having them take on almost full responsibility for this program in a sense? Or is it just kind of ends here where we're just trying to bridge the two together?
As of right now, it's a bridge. Where this is essentially, because we aren't writing anything officially into policy, we're going to pilot this for the rest of this semester, and then depending on how it goes, we may make this an official policy, but we will certainly reevaluate and segue into that if that's what seems appropriate at the time.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, we move into debate. Is there anybody who would like to be recognized for debate regarding the motion? Seeing none, we move into a vote. All those in favor of adopting an act concerning the coordination of the funding of area councils between USG and RHA, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, please signify by saying nay. Abstentions? Passes. Is there anybody else who would like to be recognized for anything in your business? Seeing none, we move into discussion. Is there anybody who would like to be recognized for discussion? Seeing none, we move into announcements. Is there anybody who would like to be recognized for announcements? Sure, go ahead. And then
Hey everyone, welcome back to the semester. Looking forward to a good one. I just wanted to announce some things for senior staff, mainly personnel changes for the better. We have two new members for the semester. We have first Brittany Chulo, who will be taking over as membership coordinator. So if you want to come up and say whatever. And then we also have Johan Tejada, who will be taking over as our event coordinator for the semester. So both of them have some pretty cool things lined up, so if they want to talk about them for a minute.
Hello, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Brittany Chulo. Like Syed said, I'm the new membership coordinator for this semester. First of all, a big thank you for everybody who helped out with the involvement fair today. We got a lot of new signatures, so hopefully you'll be seeing a lot of new faces around here soon. Stuff planned for the near future, we're going to start doing more with the mentorship program, get them more underway now that the involvement fair is over. And we're already thinking about involvement with open house in April. So as the semester goes on, feel free to contact me with any membership ideas that you have. And I'm really excited for this new position. Thanks.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sean Tejada. I'm the new event coordinator. I want to let you guys know that my first event I'm putting for USG is an event that has happened in the past somewhat annually. It's one of the most successful events the USG has had in the past, called Bark for Beer. It's going to be March 8th. I'm going to co-program with a late night. It's going to be in the Student Union Ballroom from like 9 to 11:30. I'll be sending out emails soon asking people if they can volunteer. 10 people at least volunteer and help me out with the event will be great. Bark for Beer is an event where students can get feedback back of how they feel USG's helping them out and what they feel the USG's role at the school is. So they'll fill out a survey in return for a root beer flow or like some kind of USG promotional item. It's a way for USG to find out what the students actually want and how much the students actually know about USG. So that's going to be the first event. And representing USG in the spring programming committee, and right now things are going smoothly. And the event that we're doing is Student Appreciation Day, and it's going to be on April 26th, which is a UConn Thursday, which is I don't know if you guys know the spring weekend program is going to have 3 different theme dates. First is Thursday UConn Learns, Friday UConn Serves, and Saturday UConn Cares. Friday's going to be more geared towards giving back to the community. A lot of events are going to be coordinated by community outreach. And Student Appreciation Day is going to be basically for that day for those saying thank you to the students who are following the rules and who are giving back to the community and making spring weekend a positive thing. And thank you.
is there anybody else who would like to be sergeant? Ms. Arana, in that order.
Try to make this real quick. This upcoming Sunday, the university is having a great honor. We will be holding the CUCR. For those of you who don't know that, that's the Connecticut Union of College Republicans. There'll be a meeting, and we'll be having members from the Yale Republicans, the Quinnipiac Republicans. So it's going to be a great honor. And if you're interested in showing up, please contact me. So that's that. Thank you, guys.
Hey guys, how's it going? So this past weekend, me and a few other people in the USG also were involved in this. We had a Indian dance competition, and it went really well. It brought a lot of different culture to UConn in the sense that a lot of different teams from across the nation came and performed here. It was a huge event. It was a great success. Student Affairs was actually supposed to help fund it. Fortunately, due to time constraints, it wasn't supposed to happen, but we're looking forward to maybe having that relationship again this year. But to people who came out, thank you so much. That's about it. Thank you.
Hey guys, just a quick update. I'm working on Husky CT, so hopefully Friday, fingers crossed, a survey will hit all of your Husky CT accounts under non-class site, and it'll say it. So if you guys can please tell everybody that you know of to take that survey, because everybody you know of, as long as they have 15 credits, will have access to the survey in all 5 or 6 campuses that UConn has. So please take it, and hopefully we can fix Husky CT at some point.
Is there anybody else who'd like to be recognized for announcements? Seeing none, adjourned at 7:32.